Hello everybody. Through this video today let us discuss how to write a complaint letter. As you are aware of the fact, letter writing plays a very important role in school examinations, college examinations, as well as most of the competitive examinations. It is part and parcel of writing section. But you must write the letter very effectively. What are the techniques? What are the tips to draft your letter most effectively? How must you present your letter in your school or college examinations to impress the examiner and score better marks? Every letter consists of a stipulated format, and we must draft that letter in the particular format only, because some marks are allotted for formatting also, and we should know what should be included in the letter. What are the components of a letter? How many parts are there in a letter? How should we begin the letter? How should we close or end the letter? And what kind of tone, vocabulary should be used to make your presentation very impressive, very attractive? Through this video, we will take some sample letters and see the format and the content and the tips that are very essential to draft the letter most effectively. Let us start now. Let us see how to draft a complaint letter. And what is the format of the complaint letter? We are going to discuss now the format and some sample questions as well as tips to be followed, which help us draft the letter quite effectively. Let us see the format now. The format consists of sender's address and date, receiver's address, subject, salutation, content, complimentary clause. Usually, all these parts or headings must be written on the left side of the answer sheet or the piece of paper on which you are drafting it. And we should begin with sender's letter, sender's address. That means the person who is drafting the letter. That is nothing but from address. But we are not supposed to mention from at the beginning. So we just start without heading from. So first component, sender's address, and next one, date, and the third one, receiver's address. Receiver's address means a person who receives the letter, whom the letter is addressed to. And we are not writing TO2. We will just begin the letter with the name of the person or with the designation of the person concerned. Next, subject. Subject is nothing but the brief or concise extract of the letter. That gives us a clear idea about which we are drafting the letter. The reader will come to know what's the letter drafted about just by going through the subject. Next, salutation. That means greeting. How must we greet? Content. You can also call this as body of the letter. Next, complementary close. That means end of the letter. We also call this as subscription. Next, let us take a sample question. Imagine this question is being given in the examination. How are you going to draft a complaint letter about this? Let us read that letter. You are Sanjit of 122 or 122 Arjun Nagar, New Delhi. A number of scooters and cars are parked in your locality without any order. That means irregularly, causing blockage of the streets. Write a letter to the local secretary of the Residents Association complaining against this problem. So this is the information or the instruction being given as question about which you are going to draft a complaint letter. And if you observe this, the address of the person who is drafting the letter is being given. That is Sanjit of 122. That means the street or lane number, then street name Arjun Nagar, and the city or the town New Delhi. And the matter is about the irregular parking of vehicles. And whom should we write the letter? That's also being given. The local secretary of the Residents Association. Okay, let us see. How must we proceed? How should we draft this letter? In the stipulated format. Okay, as usual, as we discussed earlier, we have to write or mention from address, but we don't mention FROM, and the name being given is Sanjit. Write the name of the person who is drafting the letter and the address given. So Sanjit 122 Arjun Nagar, New Delhi. So you have completed one component, one of the parts of the letter, and give some space, 1.5 line space, and begin the date. And you can write the date as mentioned here, 20 February 2020. You can also write February 20, 2020. But never write the short form of the name of the month. February as FEB, December as DEC, January as JN. Try to write the month name completely. Mention the month completely. And just place a comma to separate the month and the year. That is the second component and second part of the letter. And the third one is to address whom you are writing the letter. Address of the receiver. That's already being given in the letter in the question. So just copy it. And as usual, give 1.5 line space after the date. And continue the space in between the parts. Whom you are writing the letter? The Secretary, Residents Association, New Delhi, as it is given in the question. And once again give some space and write the subject. What is the subject? The subject denotes or tells us what we are going to draft the letter about. So now the letter is complaint regarding the issue of bad parking, means irregular parking habits in the locality. And see that the subject matter should be very concise, should be very brief, to the point. You should not write this in 3 or 4 lines. 1 or 1.5 line. The subject should always be very brief. And the next part is salutation. That is, sir, dear sir. We may write according to the person that we are addressing. And sometimes we may write madam also. And sometimes we may write both sir / madam. Okay. And we have written from address, space, date, provided some space, to address, and again provided some space, and we started subject. And after writing the subject matter, you better underline that. Try to underline or highlight the content of the subject. It must be highlighted. Next, salutation or greeting. Let's see what next. This is body of the letter. That's what you call content. More than half of the marks are allotted for the content. Marks allotment will be usually based on the vocabulary and the accuracy and relevancy. Okay, what's being written? I would like to drive your attention. That means draw your attention to the bad parking habits of residents in our locality. It is resulting in a lot of chaos. What's the meaning of chaos? A great disturbance or disorder. A great confusion or irregular order or disorder. And no place for parking for those who come back late. Despite defining the area assigned to each vehicle, cars are parked amidst 2 parking spots. One vehicle occupies the space for 2 to 3 vehicles, leading to mismanagement. 2-wheelers are placed nowhere near the allotted zone. That means some parking zone is allotted for every 2-wheeler in the flat or in the residence, but they are not parking in the allotted space. They are parking irregularly. So this creates problem for the other, as they have to then spend a lot of time finding parking spots in other localities. It causes frustration, annoyance, and tension for safety of vehicles. So this is the content. And see that the content is always brief, concise. Don't write too lengthy matter. Try to convey whatever you want to convey very briefly. To the point. Now, last para. Various notices and warnings have been given to the rule violators, but to our dismay. Dismay means disappointment, unhappiness, a sorrowful situation, helplessness, no betterment, no progress can be seen. The same thing is going on. I request you to take strict action, as this is leading to fights between the residents. An effective and speedy action is expected, considering the depth of the situation, the seriousness of the situation. So we have completed the last para. And next, complementary clause. And you also call this as subscription. We usually go with yours sincerely or truly. And you are now Sanjeet, who is drafting the letter. And you may add, you also can add a concerned citizen. That's not mandatory. You may leave it or you can add if you wish. Let's once again go back. See here. After writing the subject, you must underline that. Next, we started with the first para, and in the first para, we are just giving an idea of the topic that we are writing the letter. That means introduction part, the problem that we are facing, and in the second, description of the problem. What is the issue? We are narrating it. And in the third para, what do we expect from the reader, from the person concerned whom you have written the letter? What action you want him or her to take against this to solve this problem? So in this way, you have to write the letter. Usually divide the content of the letter, body of the letter, into 3 paras. First give introduction, and next narrate or describe the situation that's going on, and what do you expect and what measures are required to be taken to solve the issue, and close that. Okay, if you write a letter like this in the stipulated format, using good vocabulary and most meticulously, means with a lot of precision or accuracy, you can get or score better marks in your examination. I'm sure that you can impress the examiner. Okay, let us see another sample question, and this is about a complaint against the defective wristwatch. Write a letter to measures. So when you are writing to the company, and usually write M/S, that stands for, what does M/S stand for? Measures. Measures means Mr. singular, Messrs. plural. That means when you are writing to the company, that may be consisting of a group of directors or owners, and so you are writing the plural. So remember that when you are writing to the company or any industry or the publishers or the group of the companies, you should mention M/S, Messrs. Okay, HMT, Hindustan Machine Tools Corporation, Chandigarh, complaining that the wristwatch you recently bought or purchased from them does not function properly and ask for replacement. The watch is being defective and not running properly, not showing the correct time. You are Deepti, Deepak. Usually 2 names may be given, and according to your gender, you can select one name and write. So what are the names being given here? Deepti or Deepak Gupta. And the address is being given that you have to mention in the from address, 450 Sector 20, Chandigarh. And you know that you are now well acquainted with the format. And let's begin the letter now. As usual, from address without from. Deepti, 450 Sector 20, Chandigarh. And give space and start or write the date. And remember that you must always write the full name of the month. Okay. And after giving some space, write or mention the true address. And that's being given in the letter itself. Just copy it. Messrs. HMD Corporation, Customer Complaint Division, Chandigarh. And next subject, complaint regarding functioning of watch and its replacement. Okay. And remember that the subject should be very brief and to the point. And next part, next component of the letter, salutation. Okay, just write sir. Next, remember that you must underline the subject matter, or you must highlight it so that it will be considered, it will be read and understood by the reader very quickly. That's one of the techniques to score better marks. And as usual, we have to introduce that first para, just introduction of the problem. Why we are writing letter? What is the issue? On February 27, 2020, I bought a Titan watch, model number 2356. Mention that, that's all fictitious. If it's given in the letter, you mention, otherwise write something relevant. Worth 5,500 rupees from your store. And what happened? What's wrong with the watch? Now we are going to narrate, or we are going to enumerate the problems in the second paragraph. Unfortunately, your product has not performed well. It's running bad. It's not showing the correct time. The watch does not work half the time despite several attempts at changing its battery. I am highly disappointed because such act of neglect is not expected from such a renowned store. Renowned means famous or popular. Okay, HMT is very famous. And next continuation to second para. To resolve the problem, I would appreciate you changing the watch with a new fully functioning model. I have the receipt intact, means complete and undamaged. You have the receipt of the purchase of the watch that you are attaching here for evidence. Enclosed are the copies of receipt along with the guarantee card. Usually you will get a guarantee card when you purchase a watch or any item for your safety and security. And now third para. So what are you going to demand? What are you going to ask the shopkeeper or storekeeper? I look forward to your reply and a resolution to my problem, and will wait until a week before seeking help from a consumer protection agency. If you don't take proper care within the stipulated time, that means 1 week, I will have to complain against you or file a complaint in the consumer protection agency. Please contact me at the above address. Already you have given your address at the beginning, that is from address, or by phone. If possible, give your phone number also. Next, complimentary clause, that is subscription. Yours sincerely, and write the name. You have to sign in that name, either Deepthi or Deepak Gupta, and you enclose some documents and mention that. What did you enclose? The receipt of the watch when you purchased it, and the guarantee card also you are attaching. But remember that you are not attaching the original copies, only the xerox. Retain the original copies with you for future reference. That you need not mention in the letter, but you must have some common sense about it. Okay, let us see what are the tips for complaint letter writing. To draft the letter, complaint letter, very effectively, what are the shortcuts? Use a tone that's polite and simple. Tone means the attitude and the quality of the letter, that means the language and your expression, etc. That's polite. You should always write in a polite and simple language. Okay, try to be formal, never be informal or rude, and avoid using offensive. Offensive means disrespecting, rude or impolite language, and disrespectful words. Make sure that you introduce yourself properly, and in the beginning, in the two letters, the beginning, in the first para, I said that introduction para, and you are introducing yourself, and you can also add that I am so and so, I am a resident of, that also you can add, it's no wrong. Or you can start as stated in the letter. That's introductory part. Make sure that you introduce yourself properly. Introduction plays an important role. The purpose of writing should be loud and clear. That means why you are drafting or why you are writing the letter should be clear. The reader must be able to understand just by reading the subject of your letter. There must be clarity. Okay. Do not deviate from the topic. Just write the letter simply, briefly, and to the point. Don't beat about the bush. Don't write unnecessary matters or paragraphs and paragraphs. It's of no use. Do not deviate from the topic and write to the point. Make sure you adhere means stick, follow the format. The format should be followed because the format carries some marks. And underline the subject. I explained that already, and that's being underlined in the 2 letters. Underline the subject of the letter with a pencil. Okay, use a pencil and scale to underline or for underlining the subject. And just it may be highlighted. Make sure that you double check, cross check the grammatical accuracy and spelling. You might, while you are writing letter, you must be in a hurry, and so you might commit some kind of mistakes, spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes, and so after drafting that, better go through the letter, and this is called verification. That's very important. You may rectify the mistakes that you might have made. They carry marks. What? Accuracy and spellings. Marks will be allotted depending upon the accuracy and spelling of the content. If you make spelling mistakes or for misspelling, inaccuracy, marks will be deducted. Ensure you maintain accuracy and the stipulated format. They carry marks. Leave an adequate number of lines, and I told you that leave some space between each part, from space, date, space, to space, subject, space, and so go on giving some space so that there will not be ambiguity or any confusion. So you have to give some space between the paragraphs to make it look clean, understandable, readable. Thank you for watching. Practice as many letters as possible to become thorough with the letter writing. Thank you very much once again.